In 1959, Leon Festinger and Merrill Carl-Smith published a classic study demonstrating the potential for cognitive dissonance to lead to attitude change. In the first phase, participants were asked to complete a series of mind-numbingly boring tasks. First, they had to put 12 spools onto a tray. Then they emptied the tray and filled it with another 12 spools, all one-handed, over and over again, for a full half an hour. Next, they were given a board with 48 square pegs. First, participants had to turn each peg a quarter turn clockwise. Then they turned each peg another quarter turn. Again, using one hand only. Again, over and over again for half an hour. As far as the participants knew, this was the end of the study. But in reality, this is when things just started to get interesting. Because next, the experimenter told the participant an elaborate story, recruiting his or her help in order to keep the study going.
So in this study, we were looking at participants' expectations and how that would influence their task performance. So in some conditions, participants didn't have any expectation of what to expect from the task, and that's what you experienced today. But half of our participants, we tell them that the task is going to be interesting and even a little bit fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the thing is, we usually have a confederate that goes out and tells the next participant that the study is going to be interesting, but our confederate today called in sick. So we already have a participant waiting outside, and we were hoping that you might be able to help us out. Would you be able to go out and tell the participant that you had fun doing the task today? We can pay you.
I guess so.
Great.
All participants agreed to lend a hand, even though doing so put them in an uncomfortable situation, having to tell the next participant, a fellow student, how great this dull study was going to be. Of course, this whole story to participants was really a deception. In reality, the confederate was the student in the waiting room. He wasn't really the next participant. He was working with the researchers, and he was about to make the participant even more uncomfortable.
Hey. Hello. This is Akshi. She just completed the experiment, and I've asked her to tell you a little bit about it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey, how's the study?
It was okay. It was pretty good. It's pretty fun.
Really? Because one of my friends did it last week, and they said really wasn't very fun.
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty okay, pretty fun.
That's good to hear.
Cool.
Festinger and Carl-Smith expected that lying would lead to dissonance, that on the one hand, participants would think, I'm a nice person, I'm honest, and on the other hand, they'd think, I just lied to this person. This student's going to hate the study. With contradictory thoughts like these, something has to give to reconcile the dissonance. In this case, what changed were participants' private attitudes about how boring or fun the spool and peg turning study really was. Because if you can manage to convince yourself that it wasn't so bad, you're able to reduce dissonance. So for the last stage of the experiment, the participant headed to a post-study exit interview with a member of the department and was asked about their experiences with the spool and peg portion of the study. Hi, I'm a faculty member in the psychology department. I understand you were in a study today involving some physical manipulation of objects. And just have a couple quick questions for you. First, did you find the study to be interesting, enjoyable at all?
Yeah, it was okay. It was a little bit fun.
Okay, great. We have a lot of studies like this in the department, and was just wondering, would you be interested at all in being in a study like this in the future?
Yeah, I guess I would do it again.
Great, thanks a lot. To alleviate dissonance, the participants inflated their ratings of how enjoyable the study had been, like the participant that you just saw. But not everyone did so to the same extent, because not everyone in the study experienced the same amount of cognitive dissonance. Do you remember how the experimenter we saw offered to pay the participant to lie to the person in the waiting room? And that payment amount varied by condition. Some of these participants were offered $20 for their help. A pretty nice payday for a simple lie, right? And it really was, because if you consider inflation, that's like being paid over $150 in today's money. In fact, these participants in the $20 condition had so much justification for their lie that lying didn't bother them as much. They didn't experience as much dissonance. They didn't feel the need to inflate the ratings of how fun the study had been. They just reminded themselves that they weren't bad people. They lied for the money. And really, who wouldn't have? But other participants were only paid $1 for their help. Not a huge amount of money. $1 in 1959 is worth about $8 today. Enough to get students like Akshi to agree to help, yes. but insufficient justification to deal with the dissonance that results. And so when these students felt uncomfortable about having lied, their best option was to make the lie a smaller one. And so they convinced themselves that the study itself hadn't been so bad. The participants in the $1 condition changed their attitudes in order to deal with the discomfort of cognitive dissonance.